Despite the inconsistency of the DC Extended Universe, it has all the potential to be great. A huge part of that potential is some absolutely genius casting choices, with actors that have expertly embodied their roles, even when the movie around them didn't always work. In this video, we're going to look through the wide-ranging DCEU to find the best casting choices according to the most important judges of all, the fans. We'll start with one of the biggest no-brainers on the list, Harley Quinn.
Something tells me a whole lot of people are about to die.
At the time when Margot Robbie was cast as Harley Quinn, fans didn't know what to expect from the actor. Her most prominent role at the time was The Wolf of Wall Street, and while that movie was completely insane, she was the sane part of that film. But from the second she was on screen as Harley in 2016 Suicide Squad, we knew that we were seeing the best live-action version of this character we're ever gonna get. In fact, we'd even go so far as to say that she was one of the very few things that worked about that movie, and a reason why the Suicide Squad ever ended up happening. And the fact that Birds of Prey was made just to give her a leading role shows how great she is as Harley. Up next is the first DCEU casting choice, Superman.
You're scared of me because you can't control me. You don't, and you never will.
Now, this is a weird choice to explain, but bear with us. If we're being fair, Cavill is the most convincing-looking movie Superman we've ever had, and the actor certainly has the charm to pull off the role too, as we can see from pretty much every role the actor has ever played besides Superman. The fact that the DCEU Superman has been written poorly isn't Cavill's fault, but even in spite of the writing, the actor has done a pretty decent job of convincing audiences that he can work as Superman. We've seen flashes of his potential in Man of Steel and the two versions of Justice League, as well as the post-credits scene of Black Adam. Now that Cavill has officially returned to the super tights of Krypton's last son, we might just get a Superman role worthy of Cavill's abilities. We're following that with fellow Justice Leaguer Aquaman.
Well then, my bloodshed. The gods make known their will.
Just like with Cavill, you take one look at Jason Momoa, and you know he's your Aquaman. Momoa can also play this version of the character really well, embodying a spirit that can't be chained to a throne, and one that craves adventure. The difference between him and Superman is, of course, the fact that Aquaman has been written decently well in all his appearances in the DCEU, aside from that weird scene of him calling Wonder Woman beautiful in the Whedon cut of Justice League. This makes it a shame that Momoa is reportedly on his way out of the DCU after his Aquaman sequel. We have to say that cutting him is a weird choice, considering that Momoa had performed the feat of making Aquaman a cool and interesting character to general movie-going audiences. Hopping over to the villainous side of things, we have Amanda Waller.
Don't get high-spirited on me and ruin a good day.
While Waller's appearance might be different from the comics, it's well worth making the change in order to get Viola Davis in the role. Davis is one of the greatest actresses in the business today, and her performances as Waller have been great in every single project she's appeared in. From being one of the only bright spots in the first Suicide Squad, to being a compelling villain in the Suicide Squad, and then being the mom of one of the characters in Peacemaker, Waller has consistently been the best villain that this franchise has had to offer. And Viola Davis is a big part of why the character works so well. Back on the side of the heroes, we have Shazam.
I'd like to purchase some of your finest beer, please.
Now, Shazam is a pretty interesting character from a writing perspective. Billy Batson is a young boy who turns into a grown-up superhero when he says the word Shazam. So the adult, who portrays the Shazam form of the character, has to do a pitch-perfect job of mirroring the performance of the boy who plays his alter ego. Quite the acting challenge, we think. And yet, Zachary Levi nails the part. He's super charming and has a lot of childish glee about being a superhero. And he's just generally really great at being Shazam. What's really interesting about Fury of the Gods, though, is that they had to get a whole bunch of other actors to try and match Levi's performance. We'll have to wait to see how that turns out. And speaking of Shazam, we can't leave out his nemesis, Black Adam.
There's no one on this planet that can stop me.
This is the one case on the list where we can't really give Warner Brothers credit for casting Dwayne Johnson in the role. The Rock doesn't look like your stereotypical nerd, but the dude loves comics, and he's been trying to get a Black Adam movie made since the 2000s. Even as the movie went through one circle of development after another, Johnson stuck with it, and his sheer passion for the character is super apparent in his performance. About the only criticism you can make about Johnson's version of Black Adam is that The Rock has too much of an image problem to ever be seen killing people on camera. But we think that the whole picture works regardless, since this is a PG-13 series anyway. Our next hero, though, is the least PG-13 one of them all, Batman. Is Ben Affleck the best Batman ever?
Well, here I am.
Honestly, considering all the competition he's facing, he might be near the top of the list. And this is in spite of the fact that Batfleck had some serious flaws in his character. Well, actually, Batfleck has just one real flaw. There's no such thing as a Batman who kills people. Other than that, though, Batfleck was a really compelling take on this character. Every Batman movie ever made has claimed The Dark Knight Returns as an inspiration, but Ben Affleck was the one who got closest to that version of Batman. He isn't just tortured by the death of his parents, but in the DCEU, he's also tortured by his failure to save Robin from the Joker. The idea of Batman seeing the destruction of Metropolis and deciding to kill Superman is, again, wrong, because Batman doesn't kill people. But the fact that you could go along with this version's quest to murder Superman is a testament to how well Affleck realized the character. Now, every Batman needs a good Alfred, and Jeremy Irons was some ingenious casting. Unlike Affleck, Irons only had to compete with one actor to be a great Alfred. Unfortunately for him, that actor was Michael Caine, the legend himself. We think that Irons presented a pretty great alternative take on Alfred that, again, really suited this version of Batman. Being Batman's adoptive father, Alfred feels all the pain that Batman feels. So whatever has turned Batman into a cold, vindictive person has also turned Alfred into someone who stands as a second in command. He'll help Batman through stuff, but he also isn't afraid to question Bruce and his actions. And Irons really breathes life into this version of the character. We'll complete the DC Trinity now with Wonder Woman.
No, but it's what I'm going to do.
It's a shame that we haven't had like 5 versions of Diana on screen, unless you count the 2 from The Crown. But Linda Carter had done a pretty great job of owning the role in a way that made her the definitive on-screen Wonder Woman. Does Gal Gadot steal that crown from her? Maybe she does. Gadot's version of Wonder Woman is actually more optimistic than the one we've seen in some eras of the comics, which is very strange considering Zack Snyder created the DCEU. But throughout her movies, she's honestly done a better job of saving people and inspiring them than Superman has. Gal Gadot cuts a heroic figure, and she also imbues the character with humility and charm that would make you want to run up to her and get an autograph. This mishandling of Superman in the DCEU has ironically left Gadot as a sort of Steve Rogers of the DC universe. And sure, Wonder Woman 1984 had some bizarre plotting choices, but Gadot has never faltered in her portrayal of Wonder Woman. Finally, we can't leave out Peacemaker.
Oh, Peacemaker! You're that racist superhero! You only kill minorities, man!
When James Gunn introduces us to John Cena's Peacemaker in the Suicide Squad, he's kind of a bully and a foil to Idris Elba's Bloodsport. We do later find out that Peacemaker has principles of his own, and pretty reasonable principles at that, but he does ultimately go down as a villain of the movie. But then comes the Peacemaker TV show, and good grief, how is this guy one of the most compelling characters that the DCEU has to offer? We learn throughout the show that Peacemaker grew up in an abusive household with a dad who was the leader of a white supremacist gang. The fact that Peacemaker isn't a crazy racist himself is a point of tension between him and his father, and the guy's upbringing has screwed up his personality. John Cena plays the comedic moments and dramatic moments with equal brilliance, and he's even great in the opening dance sequence. That's it for today's video. Let us know in the comments section below who your favorite DCEU casting choice is and whether we got around to putting them on the list. But whatever you do, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.